Industrial recycling is modeled together with the domestic recycling, household recycling. Nonetheless, this is ranked at number 56, 2.77 gigatons in reduced CO2. Net cost $366.9 trillion, and net savings is $71.1 billion. This is a long story here. In 2012, the Interface Corporation, a global company that makes carpet tiles, formed a partnership with the Zoological Society of London to explore an unusual question. How could making carpets address inequality in the world? Carpet company saying, how could making carpets address inequality in the world? The answer can be found in these two images. Working with people in coastal communities in the developing world, Interface purchased discarded fishing nets strewn on reefs and atolls, which end up causing massive problems by snaring the fish, animals, and the atolls themselves, reefs and atolls. Some of the 640,000 tons of abandoned fishing gear, 640,000 tons of abandoned fishing gear in the sea that continue to catch and kill fish. This is referred to as ghost fishing. Until now, local communities had no sustainable way of recycling or disposing of used fishing nets. The initiative is called Networks, cute, and at the heart of the program are community banks that help manage funding, loans, coastal cleanups, deposits from sales, and finance of local conservation projects. The discarded fishing nets are processed by Aquafil, which converts the nylon from waste into 100% recycled carpet yarn. Interface then incorporates the yarn in a series of designs, one of which you see here, simulating the water where the nets were retrieved. As of 2016, Networks has been established in 35 communities, collected 137 tons of waste nets, and given 900 families access to microloans and banking. Okay, here is the second part of that story. Women from the collection hub in Bantian Islands are examining the fruits of their labor. Carpet tiles made from 100% recycled fishing nets. The women clean, weigh, sort the nets, after which they are baled and stored. So they are packaged into these hay bales, ready to export to Cebu City. What nice story of recycling a waste that is actually an ecological hazard. The book says, writing in journal Nature, Swiss architect Walter Stahel urges to close the recovery loop. We will need new technologies to depolymerize, dealloy, delaminate, and devulcanize, as well as decoat materials. So that will make things easier to recycle as well. What to do with your waste? This is just a good list to look at, even though it seems so obvious. Solid waste will ultimately have one of the 5 outcomes. I took it from this website here, listed from most to least preferred. Source reduction, so most to least preferred, reuse, recycling, energy recovery, and treatment and disposal. You don't want to dispose of anything, but there you are anyways. This is from Stahel's Nature article, opinion. Closing the loops, using resources for the longest time possible could cut some nations' emissions by up to 70%, increase their workforces by 4%, and greatly lessen waste. So here is the use section. Here is reuse, repair, remanufacture as a loop. So this is innovation needed here. Take back of goods, recycle. So on this side you have redistribution, resource losses partly recoverable by industrial symbiosis, and manufacturing. So here are the extracted resources feeding the loop from outside, and innovation and use are also the externalities. Innovation includes research needed to transform used goods into as new and to recycle atoms. Extracted resources, of course, include water, energy, natural resources entering the manufacturing process. Manufacturing includes renewing used products to lessen the need to make originals from scratch. Distribution, ownership transfers from manufacturer to consumer at point of sale. And use, of course, is controlled by buyer, owner, consumer of goods, or by fleet managers who retain ownership and sell goods as services. So implementing these, of course, requires huge amount of coordination, and we will see that there is a program called Extended Producer Responsibility which tries to address some of these problems. From the same website here, just quickly some of the ways to reduce manufacturing waste: upgrading process equipment, upgrading supply raw material, conducting training, adding quality checks, rigorous tracking, cut waste generation at the source, which is critical because recycling should not make it easier to discard or produce more waste. Audit your suppliers, work with suppliers for well-timed deliveries, reduce packaging materials. This is a big issue, as you know very well. Return packaging. Redesign your process flow, hold regular 6S events, which are the 6 Sigma events, which I won't go into here, but here it is: sort, set, shine, standardize, sustain, safety. There are 13 more for a list of 25. So what is EPR? That is shown here with World Wildlife Fund's involvement. This is called No Plastic in Nature project. No Plastic in Nature by 2030. So it has a few strategies and work streams, which includes extended producer responsibility, and that includes eco-design and waste management. And there are international and national engagements with science-based analysis and study, which includes mobilizing governments and facilitating multinational corporates. Okay, so here is extended producer responsibility. Plastic crisis, various numbers which are of course scary: 860 million metric tons of carbon emissions through plastic in 2019, just in 2019. More plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050 projections. 700 species threatened by marine debris. 8 million metric tons of plastic enters the ocean each year. Okay, so the call to action includes what governments should do: set national segregation, collection and recycling targets, especially in lower income countries and lower middle income countries. Create a coherent EPR framework, monitor companies' plastic use and enforce EPR legislation. Companies should reduce unnecessary use of plastics, take responsibility for the management of products end of life impact, support the creation of EPR schemes, including consumer awareness and creation. So WWF is focusing here on plastics, but this applies to everything, including packing material and so on. So impacts, as mentioned above, household and industrial recycling were modeled together. The total additional implementation cost of both is estimated at 734 billion, with a net operational saving of 142 billion over 30 years. Lots of co-benefits again, just to remind ourselves. On average, 50% of recyclable materials come from industrial and commercial sectors. At a 65% recycling rate, the commercial and industrial sectors can avoid 2.8 gigatons of carbon dioxide by 2050. Okay, so that's household and industrial recycling for us.